How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to the Eden of Grisaia. In the last episode, we saw that Sakaki is not exactly happy with there being a new student here. She is pretty much having to change her way of life, or how she's living her life. No longer in isolation, or in complete isolation, because now there's someone that's living in the same dorm as her, going to the same school as her, where before it was just her everywhere. Well, besides the teachers that are teaching her shit, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. She's not used to it, she doesn't like it, so she's, I guess, exhausted by it, and annoyed, of course. So, let us read on. Finally abandoning my attempt at studying for English class, I leaned back in my desk chair and let out a long sigh. She's annoyed with the English homework, that's it. It seems like I've been doing a lot more of that over the last few days. Since the day that Principal Tachibana showed me around Mihama Academy with a frightened expression on her face, I've barely spoken to anyone except during classes. In that respect, I've changed a surprising amount in the last few days. But after such a long period of stagnation, I can't tell if that's even a positive thing. To be honest, there's been a single thought burning inside me since the moment I stalked out of that classroom. Maybe I was a little too hard on her. And that sense of regret has completely robbed me of the ability to concentrate. I essentially told the girl to leave me alone, and now I'm wasting my time worrying about her. It's honestly rather pathetic. Still, it's painfully obvious that I'm not going to get anything done if I leave things the way they are. You know, I don't think Sakaki means by anything bad. She seems to be a good person, or at least that's how I feel from the 3 games. It's just that she wants to be alone a lot. What's the best way to describe her? Not sheltered. That's definitely not it. Not a hermit. She likes solitude, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, of course, if she doesn't get something she likes, which in this case is solitude, she's going to be a little upset, and of course, be a little angrier than normal, and she feels bad. She's not a mean person, that's just who she is. Standing in front of Suo-san's door, probably said that wrong, I pause for a moment and then knock fairly loudly. There's no reply. Yeah, I cannot pronounce her name correctly. I try because there's the O and the U just really mixes me up. As I'm trying to decide what to do next, I notice the sound of someone striking something with a hard object. Descending the stairs, I discover my classmate standing in front of the dormitory's shoe racks, apparently hammering a nail into the wall. When I draw closer in silence, Suo-san starts speaking to me without turning around. There's no awkward tension in her voice. That's a bit of a relief. Wouldn't you know if, there's shoes in the shoe rack? As Suo-san straightens the whiteboard against the wall, I realize that she's holding a number of magnetic plates that read out on one side and in on the other. All of a sudden, I finally understand. Suo-san only wanted my contact information so that we could inform each other of our whereabouts when necessary. And thanks to my stubborn refusal, she ended up going out of her way to set this up. In the face of that fact, I can't help feeling rather ashamed of myself. I'm not sure if Suo-san understands how I'm feeling, but instead of asking me for my email address again, she simply flashes me a mischievous little grin. Following her lead, I try to respond as normally as possible. She smiles in evident satisfaction.
じゃあ、これが榊さんの分だから、早速つけてみてよ。
Feeling a bit like a child who ran away from home in a fit of pique, only to come crawling back once they got hungry, I bashfully look for my name on the whiteboard.
昼下がりの団地妻、榊由美子。どう？榊さんにぴったりの二つ名じゃない？
After checking again to make sure I didn't misread the word somehow, I squeezed the magnetic plate tightly in my hand. And then hurl it to the ground with all my might. She's living in the room diagonally across from mine. She sits a good distance away from me in class. We don't go to the ladies' room together, nor push our excuse me, dying, nor push our desks together during lunch. And sometimes we end up yelling angrily at each other. That's about where things stand as for our third day attending Mihama Academy together. Alright. Sounds good enough. If you ask someone who knows me what my hobby is, got a little confused, the answer you're most likely to hear would be drawing. However, I'm not entirely sure if I'd refer to it that way myself. There are all sorts of things one might consider hobbies, such as watching movies or reading. But I think the most important factor is whether you feel actual joy in the time you spend doing those activities. And And since drawing doesn't bring me any particular pleasure, I'm not sure if it falls into that category.
あれ？榊さん出かけるの？ええ。なるほど。じゃあ、車には気をつけてね。
The things sticking out of my tote bag probably gave away the purpose of my outing. Susan doesn't pursue the matter any further. After changing into my shoes, I walk up to our whiteboard, now bereft of nicknames, alright, as a result of my vigorous protests, and flip my magnetic plate to indicate that I'm out of the dorm. At least she's participating in that. Since the email address incident, Susan and I haven't gotten into any further arguments. We've now had nearly a week to get to know each other, and I think we've both gotten a feeling for each other's personal boundaries. At the very least, I've been finding fewer reasons to sigh lately.
慣れの問題という意味では、三島崎の町と同じなのかもしれないわね。
This place struck me as an inconvenient country town at first, but I've actually grown rather fond of it. The sea breeze is nicely humid, but not too muggy, and the coastline isn't constantly swarming with cars. In practically every respect, it's very different from any of the neighborhoods I've lived in before.
それに気づいてからは外出の機会も増えたのだから単純よね。
From the start, I knew that there were many local residents who weren't happy about Mihama Academy's presence in their midst. To make matters worse, this eye-catching uniform makes it blatantly obvious that I'm a student there. Because of this, among other things, I spent most of my time shut up in my room at first, but lately I've found myself going out much more often. And in the vast majority of cases, the purpose of those outings is to draw.
今日はこの辺にしよう。
After sitting down on the riverbed, I reach into my tote bag and retrieve my sketchbook. I've already decided on my subject and mentally framed a portion of the landscape. Within seconds, I'm starting on the initial rough sketch. As I concentrate on the movement of my pencil, I can feel my mind gradually emptying itself of all conscious thought. I'm suspended by a pure white world. Yeah, thanks for sharing it. Feeling neither pleasure nor discomfort. It almost feels as if I'm watching myself drawing from a great distance, And for some reason, this emotionless state always leads me to remember the time I spent living in my uncle and aunt's house. Every single day, they argue tirelessly over the exact same things. And to escape that painfully awkward environment, I would go out into the garden and silently scratch drawings into the ground. It was a hollow, pitiful diversion, a way to kill time and avert my eyes from reality. I feel like there should be a bending figure in the background, but there isn't. As the vivid memory melts away, I mutter to myself in a self-pitying tone of voice. Just as my mother deposited me at that house when I was a child, I've been thrown into another unfamiliar prison in an unfamiliar city. And this time, I'm entirely on my own. I'm used to being alone. No matter how many times I whisper that to myself, my body doesn't seem to get the message. On numerous occasions, I've spent hours trembling uncontrollably in my bed at night. If I died here and now, it's entirely possible no one would even notice. In that absurdly large and empty campus, total solitude has proven far more painful than I'd anticipated. I know that killing time like this isn't much of a solution to that problem. If at all possible, I'd like to find some better reason to leave the Academy's grounds. But right now, this is simply the best I can do. So I sit here on the grass, drawing my pictures, and hoping I'll find some means of escape.
あれ? そこにいるのって榊さんだよね?
Just as I've reached a good point to pause for the day, a voice calls out to me from behind. Turning around, I see Susan walking toward me.
絵を描くために出かけたのは分かってたけど、ここで描いてたんだね。
Susan seems to believe that I simply enjoy drawing, and I don't want her to realize the truth. Trying not to reveal my current state of mind, I respond more curtly than usual and begin gathering up my thoughts.
スケッチブックをしまうってことは、今日はもう終わり? そうだけど、それが何か? それはいいことを聞いちゃったかも。
Flashing me a meaningful smile, Susan walks over to me, and a few minutes later, I find myself being pushed along past the train station.
一体どういうつもり? 何が? あなたが今、私の背中を押しながら商店街を目指している理由よ。ああ、榊さんには悪いんだけど、ちょっと買い物を手伝ってもらおうと思って。買い物? これから料理に使う食材の買い出しに行こうと思ってさ。そんなのあなた一人で行けばいいでしょ。どうして私も行く必要が？それを私の口から説明するのはいやらしいっていうか、とにかく一緒に来てくれればわかると思うから。
Yeah, alright. Susan's evasiveness leaves me puzzled at first, but soon enough the meaning of her words becomes rather obvious.
お？どこのべっぴんさんかと思ったら天音ちゃんじゃねえか。今日は全品2割引きでいいから何か買ってきてくんな。
I guess this always happens for Amane.
うわー、ありがとう。じゃあナスとトマトを一皿ずつもらっちゃおうかな。
毎度あり。じゃついでに大根も1本おまけしちゃおう。
嬉しい。
天音ちゃん、天音ちゃん、うちにも寄っておくれよ。たくさんおまけするからさ。
いいの？じゃあ買っちゃおうかな、豚バラ。
ああ、もう天音ちゃんは可愛いな。さっき並べたばかりのベーコン持ってって。
Yeah, you know, I've never been to Japan. I don't really plan on it or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure this doesn't happen anywhere in the world ever.
やった、ありがとう。
おーい、天音ちゃん、今日はいい味が入ってるよ。
ほんと？じゃあ2匹買ったらおまけしてくれる？
For nearly an hour, I simply watch in astonished silence as Susan is barraged with attention from the local merchants. You'd think she was on some celebrity touring the area for a TV program. Excuse me there.
まあこんな感じで最終的に一人で持ちきれない量になっちゃうから榊さんに荷物持ちを手伝ってほしかったんだよね。
When it's finally over, Susan strikes up a conversation as we're lugging her bulging plastic shopping bags back to the dorm. Walking along behind her, I find myself dwelling on a rather simple question.
いっぱいおまけしてもらえるのは嬉しいんだけど、この前なんか商店街と寮を往復する羽目になっちゃって、その代わり奥さんが店番してる時は視線が痛いんだけどね。榊さん？
Yeah, I wonder why they're giving you those nasty glares. Come on.
どうして？ああ、ごめん。もちろんもらったおまけは榊さんと半分こにするよ。そうではなくて、あなた三島崎に来てまだ1週間くらいよね。それなのにどうしてもあんな風に地域住民と打ち解けているのよ。
Okay, that's actually a really good question.
そういえば初めて商店街に顔を出した時は渋い顔をする人がほとんどだったかも。そう、普通はそうなるはずなのよ。
Even now, almost no one ever says a word to me in the street, and I've been here a good 2 months. Of course, I'm probably not the best example to be using, but it felt quite clear that the locals were shunning anyone associated with Mihama Academy.
そこはほら、女の武器を使ってるか否かの差じゃない？やっぱり。
Yeah, I guess so. With that remark, Sosan abruptly strikes a suggestive pose. To be certain, she has a remarkably voluptuous chest, and she's wearing a rather revealing outfit as well, as always. When a girl like that saunters down the street, I suppose it's only natural that men would want to chat with her.
そういう理由なら私には真似できそうにないわね。そうかな。榊さんって結構おっぱいも大きいし、ちょっと胸元がざっくりめの服を着るだけでも随分印象が変わってくると思うよ。私はあなたのように他人の前で肌を露出する気はないと言ってるのよ。それに学生の清掃は制服でしょ。なるほど、だから今日も制服を着てるんだ。何か問題は？いやさ、榊さんって育ちの良さそうなお嬢様っぽい雰囲気があるし、結構常識人なんだなって。
I'd say so.
何？それは私のことをバカにしているの？違う。美浜学園にそういう人がいてくれてちょっと安心したって話。
I'm sure that was nothing more than a casual, off-the-cuff remark. But even so, it makes me a bit happy. I can't find anything to say in response.
いやー、榊さんが手伝ってくれて本当に助かったよ。ありがとう。その前に、どうしてあなたは当然のようにこの部屋を使っているのよ。
From what the principal told me, they weren't planning on allowing students to use the dorm's management room.
実は榊さんから教えてもらったシェルターをすぐにいっぱいにしちゃってさ。いっぱいにしたってあの階段下のスペースを？うん。
Well, that's a surprise. It isn't the largest storage space, true, but you could easily fit 5 sizable moving boxes in there. She's already filled it up in less than a week? Just how much food is she hoarding in there?
それで他にいい場所はありませんかって学園長さんに相談したら、ここを使っていいって言われて。キャベツが丸々1個入る大きな冷蔵庫も置いてあったりして、結構便利に使わせてもらっちゃってるんだよね。部屋の鍵を持っている時点で今のは本当の話なんでしょうね。
Based on what I've seen of Susan, Over the course of this first week, there's one thing I can say with confidence. The single biggest difference between us is that she knows how to get what she wants. And it's not so much that she's unusually shrewd, but rather that I'm painfully inept.
もしかして呆れられちゃった？自分にね。ん？それよりこんなに食料品ばかり買い込んでいると別のところが心配になってくるんじゃない？そこは大丈夫。ほとんどが缶詰とかの非常食だし、料理は毎食きちんとカロリー計算してますから。
Susan offers me an enthusiastic thumbs up, but the motion causes the excess fat at her waist to jiggle slightly, leaving her argument somewhat less than convincing. That said, I think her plumpness might actually be rather attractive to many, so I don't particularly feel like making an issue of it.
でもまあ、これで私の役目は終わったわよね。ああ、うん。今日は本当にありがとう。そう思ったのなら、次は別の方法を考えてもらえると助かるわ。そういうとこ、榊さんらしいな。私がそういう人間だってことはもう分かったでしょ？まあね。でも最後におせっかい1個。今日はカレーを作ろうと思ってるんだけど、よかったら榊さんもどう？悪いけど遠慮しておくわ。そっか。
For an instant, my mind flashes back to the soba incident from last week, but this time Sosan doesn't seem inclined to push the issue. Relieved, I turn and make my way to the door.
じゃあ、代わりにこれ。
But then, just like a few days ago, she suddenly tosses something in my direction.
これは塩飴？そう。脱水症状の予防にはこまめな水分補給が欠かせないって言われてるけど、本当に重要なのはお塩なんだって。
Oh, my bad.
今渡されても。
To be honest, I'm not sure what she expects me to do with it.
まあまあ、持ってて困るものじゃないんだからさ。
You got that right, brother.
そうね。
It's less of a nuisance to take the things than to find some way to turn her down. While I decided to accept the candy as a simple matter of self-interest, I'm surprised to feel myself feeling somewhat touched after she gently hands them over. The way that girl tries to give me treats at every possible opportunity feels a bit familiar.
スオーさんと話していると、昔隣の家に住んでいたお手伝いさんの顔を思い出すわ。
Now, if you'd allow me to explain myself, I have to do an actual reason for turning down her dinner invitation this time. Namely, I need a bath. It was a rather hot day, and I spent hours sitting in the sun and helping Susan with her groceries. I want to get this sweat off me as quickly as possible. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. But of course, there's gonna be some titty, just a tiny bit, just enough to irritate me. After rinsing myself off with a quick shower, I eagerly sink down into the bath. We do have individual bathing facilities in our rooms, of course, but it takes some time to get a hot bath ready. Far easier to just pop into the common bathroom, since it's available 24 hours a day. It really is a convenient thing.
おまけにこの広さだものね。うんうん。わかるよ、その気持ち。
Wait a minute.
は？なんだ、榊さんもお風呂だったんだ。
You know, I kind of expected that.
スオさん？おう、スオさんだよ。どうしてあなたがここに？どうしてって、私もお湯をいただきに来たからに決まってるじゃん。
Come to think of it, that really ought to have been obvious. Until now, Mihama's lack of students meant that I had this place all to myself, but ordinarily, I'd already have run into this sort of situation multiple times by now. There's nothing inherently unusual about it, but
本当のことを言うと、榊さんを探してたら脱衣所で服を見つけて、私も急遽入ることにしたんだけどね。
Doesn't that sound strange?
やっぱり偶然にしてはタイミングが良すぎると思ったのよ。というか、どうしてそこであなたも入ってくる必要が？それは榊さんがクラスメイトとの交流を拒もうとするからでしょ。
In other words, since I turned down her invitation to dinner, she decided to find another way to spend some intimate time with me. I can't see any other way to interpret this.
それじゃあ私も失礼させてもらうわね。生き返るわ。
What is she, an old man? Yeah. And now she's starting to make suggestive noises.
誰かが使っていると分かったら普通は遠慮するものなのに。そう？だいたいお風呂で二人きりになって何を話せというのよ。じゃあ女子らしくエッチな話でもする？
No, I don't think that is.
別に必ず話をする必要なんてないと思うけど。だって順調に言ったらこれから2年は一緒に暮らすことになるんだよ。それだけ時間があるのに今日は何を話そうなんていちいち考えてたら大変じゃん。何がそんなにおかしいのよ。ごめん。でも榊さんが可愛かったからつい。私が可愛い？だって何を話せばいいかわからないって初めて彼氏ができた女の子みたいなんだもん。
All of a sudden, I realized exactly how embarrassing that line really
や
was.
っぱり榊さんは真面目だね。そうやってまた私のことをバカにして。だからバカになんかしてないって。
The smile on Susan's face is the same as ever, but for some odd reason, it convinces me that her words are sincere.
ねえ榊さん。何よ。この前榊さんがここにいる理由は聞かないって言ったけど、あれ撤回してもいいかな。それはどういう意味？なんていうか、私より先に美浜学園の学生になっていた榊さんにどうしても聞いておきたいことがあるんだよね。逆にそれだけ聞かせてもらえればあとは何も聞かなくていいっていうかさ。
I have no idea what Susan wants to ask me. That said, if answering a single question will prevent any further pestering from her, it doesn't sound like that bad of a deal.
分かったわ。で、
Oh, fuck. My bad.
そのさ、榊さんは自分からこの学園に来ることを選んだの？
I pause for a moment to consider the costs and benefits of replying to this question. No potential negative consequences come to mind, so I decide to answer her honestly.
私の場合は親が決めたのよ。だから気づいた時にはここへの入学が決まっていたわ。そっか。
I carefully omit any reference to how I'm connected to the owners of this academy, but Susan doesn't pursue the matter. Perhaps she really did simply want to know if I'd come here of my own free will.
そういうあなたはどうだったの？私？確かあなたは自分の意思でここへ来たと言っていたわよね。そう。ここなら誰にも迷惑をかけないんじゃないかと思って自分から親にパンフレットを見せた。そう。
Imitating Susan's earlier response, I offer only a brief and indifferent reply. I figured I wouldn't cause anybody any trouble here. And there is something hidden in those words, but only she knows what it is. And so I don't ask anything else. And she doesn't say anything else. and that's the unspoken rule we're both going to have to follow in our time at this school.
だからさ、一緒になるクラスメイトが榊さんみたいな人で、ちょっと安心したんだよ。私は初めてのクラスメイトがあなたで不安になったわね。
Ah.
嘘？私そんなに変だった？まずは前日に届いた大量の引っ越し荷物。おまけにバイクに乗って登場よ。不安にならない方がおかしいわ。まあ、初めてあのバイクを見せたとき、うちのお母さんも真っ青な顔してたしな。でしょうね。
Yeah, bikes are dangerous. Motorcycles, well, I guess bikes in general. A lot of things are dangerous. The world itself is pretty dangerous when you think about it. With that, our conversation peters to a halt. For some reason, excuse me, but for some reason, I don't find the silence particularly awkward.
ねえ、榊さん。今度は何？いろいろ聞いてばかりでごめんね。
Ah, damn it. Keep cutting people off. I don't say anything in response to that apology. No matter how I might try to reply, I have the feeling it would come out sounding rather meaningless.
それから、今更かもしれないけど、これからもよろしくね。
Yeah.
そうね。今度脱衣所で私の服を見かけたときは、入浴の時間をずらしてもらえると助かるわ。ごめん。全然よろしくしてなくない？それ。
As always, our conversations more than a little disjointed. We're probably going to have many others just like it from now on. But for some reason, that thought doesn't really bother me anymore. Alright. This seems like a pretty good stopping place right there.
日本南部の太平洋に生息している海洋生物の中にコブダイというお魚がいます。
Oh god, it's the principal's turn for narrating. I'm not looking forward to that, so definitely really happy that we're done recording here. Now that was actually pretty good. 23%. We're pretty much a quarter of the way done. What? This was the third episode of the prologue. So if that actually is the case, then 9 more episodes, and I think we'd be done. I don't know. Just sort of guessing that one. We actually, if I space things out correctly, we could get this ending on episode 70. And I love ending on an even number. Because I know this will be episode 60. So hopefully we don't end in 9 more episodes. Because that'd end us on 69. And that's not an even number. That's a memeing number. Definitely not where I want to end this. But yeah, whatever. Not important. Alright, well I guess I gotta figure out how to censor things in Adobe Premiere again. Because I honestly have forgotten after my many months of having to rely on Vegas after I bought that, but I got Premiere again. I think I talked about that in some of my other videos recently, but happy to have Premiere again. Definitely works better with my computer. And I know there's a way to censor that I was doing before. I just have to remember what it was. So I'll go and do that, and by the time I've done that, I mean the video, by the time you're hearing this, the video's done, so whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take it easy.